I just want to say I'm here meeting with a grassroots leader and activists in Buffalo, and I guess that's really threatening to the power establishment here. It shouldn't be. It's a democracy, and I just want to talk, and I want to hear from people in Buffalo what their experience is, and particularly their experience with economic development here. And I have to say their experience is very leaves a lot wanting. That what I keep hearing from people is the economic development, which is a really good place to start. It's what's needed, but it's being done in a very sloppy way, and in a very the money is going to people who are great contributors of the governors, and there is very little oversight. There is certainly no bidding going on, and there is very little job creation and no strings attached. The thing that I keep hearing from people today, as I heard from people in Syracuse, as I heard from people in Rochester, is that this kind of top-down economic development just doesn't work. It just doesn't work for the members of the community that need it most, particularly communities of color. They know that all this economic development money is being spent here, but they're just not feeling it. We need to stop giving tax breaks to corporations and millionaires and billionaires, and we need to, Governor Cuomo has cut $25 billion out of the state's revenue in the last 7 years, and we need that money, and we need that money to invest in infrastructure. We need, certainly in Buffalo, we need to invest it in our transportation system. I mean, there's a study that the federal government stands by, which says that if you invest $1 billion in transportation, you create 25,000 jobs. Certainly Buffalo could really benefit from that kind of investment in her transportation system. We need to invest in our schools. Buffalo is owed almost $71 million in foundation aid. We need that for our students, but we also need that to create good jobs in our schools. We need to invest in a green economy. We need to commit to 100% renewable energy, and we need to hold polluters accountable, and we need to then take that money to turbocharge our transition, which would create almost 150,000 good jobs across the state in a targeted way, starting with those communities that were most affected by environmental pollution. We need to protect Lake Erie. It is the most important resource that Buffalo has, but it's only good as long as it's clean. And we need to invest in the human service economy. It's the fastest growing part of our economy. The experts say that by 2030 it's going to be the biggest part of our economy. It's the thing that Governor Cuomo has. He's decimated spending to our cities and our towns and locality, and he's cut almost 57,000 human services jobs, half in our schools, but the other half, the jobs that we need just as much, in daycare and in home health aides and after-school programs and senior centers and nursing homes. These are kind of jobs that can't be outsourced. They have to happen on site. And the thing that's, I think, really important to remember is we have to not just have more of these jobs, but we have to make sure these jobs are good jobs with a living wage and benefits. And these jobs are overwhelmingly held by women and people of color and immigrants, often by people who are in all three of those categories. This is the human caring economy. And it's exactly the kind of infrastructural investment that has been lacking by this administration. We need to invest in clean water and clean air, and we need to invest in transportation, and we need to invest in human services. And this is what I'm hearing from people on the ground here in Buffalo, that they appreciate all the money being spent. They just wish they were seeing some of it.
Cynthia, how much does it bother you when the public perception is that you're running for governor, but you only care about downstate, the MTA, and that you don't care so much about upstate? What do you say to those people?
I would say, first of all, that that's entirely untrue, and that we've got a lot of poverty in New York City, but poverty in Buffalo, in Rochester and certainly in Syracuse is even worse, frankly. And I think that, you know, the things that I'm running for, the things that I want to do as governor, are things that everybody in every part of the state wants, also regardless of their political party. People want schools that educate their children well. People want water and air that's clean. People want transportation that gets them where they're going, and people want housing that they can actually afford. I mean, one of the things that Buffalo is really struggling with right now, in exactly the same way that New York City is because of the power of developers and landlords. The people who actually live here, not who are moving here from somebody else, but the people who've lived here for generations, are completely being pushed out, and we need to renew our rent laws, and we need to strengthen them, and we need especially to expand them, because Buffalo needs to be for everybody. People are, come on in, Buffalo's great, it has so much to offer, but we can't prioritize those people at the expense of the people that have been here for generations.
Ms. Nixon, you say that you would hope that we could find good jobs for people, and you say that the governor's policies are incorrect. Obviously, you've done your homework trying to find out a little bit more about Western New York. But the thing we constantly hear from people is taxes are too high. What would Cynthia Nixon do to cut taxes so that people don't see their tax bills constantly going up?
Well, I think, you know, one of the things that would be my priority when I'm governor is to make sure that our schools are fully funded and make sure that our schools are more equitably funded, and that has to do with the state taking on a bigger share and not making them completely tied to property taxes. Completely tying funding for our schools, as an example, is very onerous on property holders, and in poor neighborhoods they can't possibly generate that revenue.
But also, let's face it, the suburbs. I mean,
yes.
I'll tell you what I pay in taxes.
Yes.
I'm paying $7,500. I'm not a rich person. How do you do that? I mean, and my taxes have gone up hundreds of dollars. What are you going to do to support those schools that take the primary point of those taxes? They're the bulk of the taxes that I'm paying. What are you going to say to the schools? And we already spend more than other states spend on taxes for schools.
Well, I got to argue with you there. We do spend more than any other state. But it's because in our wealthy districts are so overwhelmingly wealthy, we spend so much. We were the second most unequally funded school system in the entire country. Only Illinois is worse than us, and we do spend a lot. It's a blue state. We provide a lot of services, but you can't show me a school in the east side of Buffalo. You can't show me a school in Brownsville. You can't walk into those schools with me and say enough money is being spent here. It's not. And the fact of the matter is, I hear you on your taxes, but we have I think 470,000 millionaires and billionaires here. They can afford.
Here in Western New York?
Not in Western New York, across the state. And those people can afford to pay a little bit more that they would not even notice. And this is something that the Assembly has passed and that has been, can't get traction in the Senate, but hopefully it will soon when the Democrats have the majority there.
Aren't people moving out of the state too? Aren't people moving out because of the taxes?
Wealthy people don't care about a little more taxes. What wealthy people care about is clean water and good schools and equity and living in a place that's a good place to live. And the way to make a place a good place to live and to welcome business and to make it livable for everybody of every economic class is to invest in infrastructure.
Does anyone else have
Governor Cuomo's
narrative? There's the narrative that Cynthia Nixon is a New York City candidate, and yet you announced your candidacy more than a month ago, and this is the first time you've been to upstate New York's biggest city. Why wait so long?
No, you're wrong on that.
Well, we've been just launched about 4 weeks. I am really glad to be in Buffalo, and I will be back again and again and again. We have started to go around the state to other places. This is my first trip as a candidate to Buffalo, but it's certainly not my first trip to Buffalo when I've been fighting for better schools.
Ms. Nixon, many people are saying that just your being involved in the race is bringing the governor to the left, bringing the Democratic primary to the left. I'm wondering, do you agree with that, and do you think that that's a good thing?
I do agree with that. I do agree with that, and I am really determined to be New York State's next governor, but if we can pick up some great progressive victories along the way, I say all the better. It's a time with Donald Trump in the White House for Democrats that it's not a time of centrism. If you're a Republican, you be a Republican, but I'm a Democrat and I'm going to be a Democrat, and that's one thing that I am encouraged to see our governor start to inch leftward. He's still got a long way to go.
What do you think you have to do?
You've heard about, we heard some of your criticisms about economic development upstate. Governor Cuomo's Buffalo billion, of course, is very ambitious, but Republicans are also chipping away at it. They're talking about alleged pay to play, alleged bid rigging. How do you maintain a criticism while not looking like you're leaning away from your liberal base? How do you differentiate from the Republican attack on Cuomo's economic development?
I think a disgust with corruption, particularly in government, is a bipartisan issue, and I think certainly when you look at the conviction of Joe Prococo and the trial of Elan Colieros coming up, I think it raises a lot of questions. Is this really how we want our state government to give away its economic development dollars? I certainly don't, and I know few people in New York who do.
What do you think about Cynthia Felder saying he's staying with Republicans this year? What do you think
Say it again?
What do you think about Cynthia Felder saying he's staying with Republicans this session?
The situation that Governor Cuomo has created for the last 7.5 years, making it really very comfortable and very cozy, and being rewarded actually for Democrats going over and voting with Republicans. He has created this climate, and it's not surprising that we're in the situation we're in with Cynthia Felder right now.
What do you think about Governor Cuomo's plan to do the plastic bag ban?
Governor Cuomo's plan to do to put a fee on plastic bags. I'm
Not
really
a fee. He's calling for a ban of the single use.
Even better, because I'm really excited about that. I think that's great. I think that's a really heartfelt decision on his part. When last year in New York City we had fought for 4 years to put a fee on it, and he came in proactively and killed it. I'm glad that he woke up one morning and saw the world differently. I look forward to how he will be seeing the world differently in the months to come.
Yesterday there was a special assembly election in which